Hey guys, and welcome back to another FM22 Transfer Guide with me, Raxo FM, where today we are going over 3 signings and 3 sales for Chelsea. A side that have had a lot of success in recent years, despite the fact that they finished 10th place in one season, but that was a fluke. They won the Premier League straight after that. But more recently, they have seen a wee bit of a dip in form with the surge, the improvement of Liverpool, Manchester City, even United finishing above them. 1 or 2 seasons, I believe. So we're going to try and bring them back to the top, and you definitely can do it with this rich football club by signing a couple of players and selling a couple of players. If you guys are excited to find out what we can do to improve this squad, make sure you do smash the like button on today's video, as well as subscribing to the Rex FM YouTube channel so you don't miss the daily Football Manager content that will be coming your way with transfer guides and series all throughout FM22. You start the year with £40 million to spend, which is a very respectable amount of money considering some of the smaller fees we have seen being given by boards at the start of seasons in this year's Football Manager. So it's not too bad at all. 100% of the transfer revenue being brought in is going straight back into that budget as well. So I think a very respectable amount, a very usable amount. However, they have a very strict and very strong vision, a lot of stuff that they want you to do. They want you to play attacking football, possession football, develop players using the youth system, sign players under the age of 22 for the future, play entertaining football, sign high reputation players, and then, again, there's so much more stuff that they want you to do. Sign young players for the profit, only sign 30-year-old plus players for 1 year, expand the stadium, build a new stadium, maintain the club's best youth system in the world, maintain the Premier Division's best youth system, maintain the world's best youth system in the world, oh my goodness, work within the wage budget. And in terms of performance, I want you to win the Club World Championship, reach the first knockout round of the Champions League. So clearly they don't care too much about the Champions League, but they want you to start dominating in England by reaching the final of the FA Cup and challenging for the Premier League this year. So I think, I'd argue these are slightly too high of expectations. They do certainly want you to do some serious stuff in the league this year, including winning a domestic cup. So Carabao Cup, although it's not important, it is kind of important, boys and girls. So £40 million is a lot to be able to spend, but when you have those kinds of expectations, you can understand why they need to give you a bit of money. But we're going to add to that tally by selling a couple of players right now. Let's find out who was on the chopping block, and let's find out how much money we can bring in. The first player that is being sold is Ross Barkley. He's already on the transfer list, and of course, he's been a player that has only been at Chelsea for a couple of... I really did think it happened not that long ago. Okay, he's been there for a bit longer than I thought, but he hasn't been there for an insane amount of time and not been the most successful signing for them. Definitely an okay rotation player, but is he a starting player for a side like Chelsea? Probably not. 27 years of age, not going to get a whole lot better, and worth a decent amount of money with a decent wage, so I think it is definitely time to cash on him, especially with the options like Havertz, Ziyech, even Werner could play in that cam position better than this man can, so let's get rid of him. And let's bring in £7.5 million in the save. He's gone to Newcastle, which I would say is a very realistic transfer for him. I think he would do a lot of good for a Newcastle side in real life, but they haven't obviously signed him in real life. We've sold him in this game, and we are more than happy to get rid of him. That's a decent fee for a man who, as I said, is not going to make a lot of appearances for us this year. And we're more than willing to take that amount of money and add it to our transfer budget to be able to get a world-class player. The next player that we're selling is worth a wee bit more money and is a wee bit older. Marcus Alonso at 30 years of age, a very good left-back option, and I'm not beating around the bush here. He is a very good player. Look at all of those stats. Plenty of well-roundedness about this man. I don't know if that's quite a word that makes a lot of sense, but we're going with it anyway. You know what I'm trying to say. He came into Chelsea quite a few years ago for £23 million, so he's been a very good signing since then, been a loyal servant, but with the signing of Ben Chilwell, who's a younger option, and arguably a better option, I think that you could definitely justify starting Alonso instead, but I'd say with the age, Chilwell has got to be the man that you're starting. And also with the ability of Azpi Lacroix to play in that left-back role, or even that right-back role, don't think this man is really needed anymore. He's kind of surplus to requirements, getting older, not going to get any better, and certainly not going to get any more expensive in value. So it's time to cash out on him while we can. £20 million would be a very good fee. And £20 million is exactly what we've gotten once again going to Newcastle United. I mean, they're getting our players for a reason, because we're getting rid of decent players, but this time we've gotten rid of a player that I really think is worth getting rid of at this point in his career, despite the fact that he is a very good player, as I said before. He's just not got the ability to improve and to really lock down that left-back position for years to come. So I think for £20 million right now, that's an amazing figure to get for a man who, again, isn't going to start and is worth quite a bit of money and getting older. So now we have, what, like £67 million to spend? I've done a pretty good job so far, but we've got one more sale. And it is, unfortunately, Chalobah, a man that has broken into the Chelsea side recently and done a really good job and kind of been disrespected on Football Manager. He does not have the stats that we need, does not have the potential that we need, and he's worth quite a bit of money. So if we're trying to bring some in, I think he's definitely worth getting rid of. If we go to our squad depth screen, despite the fact that he is one of the youngest options in there, he's definitely not one of the best, as there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players that are considered better centre-backs than him. 2 of them aren't even out-and-out centre-backs. And you've got this young man, Malang Sarr, I don't know how I said Masala, he's all the way in your reserves, and even he has got a wee bit more ability than Chalobah in this game. So in real life, definitely a great prospect. But in Football Manager, I don't think he's ever going to reach the heights that you need him to. I think it's time to cash in. In this save, he has moved on to RB Leipzig, which I would say is a very good option for him. I mean, he's probably going to be a starter, or at least a very heavily rotated player in their squad. And they're building a great youthful team that I think he would be great to be a part of. We have gotten rid of him for £14.75 million, so around that £15 million mark, which I think is a very fair fee. For a man that isn't going to get a whole lot better for us, probably never going to be a starting option, maybe not even a rotation option. I think it's a good player to cash in on while you can. Despite the fact that he's a great talent in real life, he's just not it in Football Manager. But now we have some gaps in our team. We need to work out what we need to buy with this. What do we have? 67 plus 15. Let's carry the 2. 82. Is it? Yeah, no, it's 82. Now, when we take a look at this Chelsea side, I think one of the biggest questions that you've got to ask is, what system are you going to be using? You could use this gegenpress with 2 central midfielders, 2 wingers, a cam, and a striker. Or what a lot of people would be using would be a 5 at the back formation, like they do use sometimes in real life, have previously had a lot of success with. And I think it suits the players that they have really well. So you got to decide first of all what you're going to be doing. I think either one of them are great formations in this year's Football Manager, and with this team it can work really well. But going on to that squad depth screen, we can take a look at what we need to improve upon, and we will, for the sake of it, just do this formation because it is my favourite. And when we analyse this, we can see that there are some absolutely small positions that we need to improve, because the Chelsea side is pretty stacked as things stand. And starting with the striker position, you've got Lukaku and Werner, who are 2 great options for you. I think maybe one more option would be decent, but realistically, they're 2 brilliant strikers. But if you are, of course, going to be using that 2 striker formation, another one is probably quite crucial. On the left-hand side and the right-hand side, you've got Ziyech, Havertz, Hudson-Odoi, you've got Pulisic who can do a job out there, Werner who can do a job out there, plenty of options. But I think a lot of those options are players that might play in different positions, so certainly could be a position that you want to think about improving as well. Ziyech, again, a winger. Havertz, definitely going to be more of a cam for you. Mason Mount, maybe more of a central midfielder. So this cam position, I think just like the left wing or the right wing, you might want one more option in there just to be able to make sure that you're covered on all bases. In the central midfield situation, you've got Kante, who of course is going to be starting for you. And then Jorginho, maybe someone else could be handy in there, but as I said before, it's probably the same with this whole situation here. You know, maybe one more option would be handy, but it's not desperate. You've got very good players in those positions. At right back, Dan James is going to be locking that position down with an absolute multitude of players that can do a great job in that position. At centre back, you've got Rudiger and Thiago Silva, 2 very good options, with Christensen, Reece James, Azpi coming through the ranks. Not 2 bad players at all. However, if you notice very quickly, as I have sold Chalobah, you don't have that much youth going on here. Reece James is definitely going to be our right back. Christensen is the youngest player, and he's 25 years of age. Doesn't have a whole lot of potential in this game. So I think a young centre-back is a position that you definitely need to be thinking about if you're thinking about the future of this Chelsea side. At left back as well, might need a reserve left back instead of Azpi, but I think that you're absolutely fine. I wouldn't have sold, who's the guy that I sold? Oh, the Spanish guy. Come on, Marcus Alonso. There we go. Managed to get there eventually. I wouldn't have gotten rid of him if I was concerned at all. And in the goalkeeper position, I think it's the same situation as the centre-back position. You've got some great options in there. Mendy, 29 years of age, great goalkeeper though. Arrizabalaga, not that great of a goalkeeper, 26 years of age. And Bettinelli, yeah, no, we won't even mention him as a part of the team. But I think a young goalkeeper could definitely be a great option for you to just have cover going forward into the future of this save. So to wrap that up, in striker position, you could maybe use one more if you are going to be playing with those two strikers in a 5 at the back system. All of these positions you could use a central midfield, cam, left wing, right wing option, but it's not too desperate at all. Right back you're fine, left back you're fine, a young centre back is certainly needed, and a young goalkeeper could definitely be needed too. So let's go out into the market, let's find what we can get, and let's sign some players. The first player that we've brought in, and the man on the thumbnail, is, oh my goodness, we're just going to call him Maxence Lacroix, an absolute legend in FIFA with that 18 pace. I think in FIFA it's like 88 pace. He's incredible and definitely a great one for the future in this Chelsea squad. I think, as I said before, you don't have enough youth in that centre-back position, and this man has ability and youth in abundance, plenty of potential, plenty of current ability. And he comes into the team for only £20 million, could eventually rise to 24, which is quite a hefty fee, but I think for such a good wonder kid, an elite centre-back already, don't think you can really complain. Got plenty of great stats. I think you can start him straight away or have him as your rotation option. What a signing. The next player that we've brought in is also another superstar. I signed him in the Manchester United 3 signings and 3 sales video, and I've brought him into Chelsea because he is so cheap. £30 million, £52 million it could eventually rise to, but for 27 years of age, elite striker who can play in cam, right wing, or even left wing if you really need him to. I think he covers that situation that we were talking about before. So if you do want to play with 2 strikers, you now absolutely can. You can play him as a cam, you can play him as a right wing. He should certainly be a starter for you, whatever you end up doing with him. He is such a world-class player, and for only £30 million up front, I think you can't go wrong with signing this player in any Football Manager save, but particularly with Chelsea. And last, but I was about to say, but not least, but he probably is the worst of the signings, but he's still a very good signing. Livakovic. He comes in as a goalkeeping option, and now we do actually have a lot of goalkeeping options, so I would suggest getting rid of Arrizabalaga as soon as possible. I tried to get rid of him, but no one wanted him. But he comes in for just £9.5 million, could rise to £10.5 million, and he is a great first-team option as a goalkeeper, and he honestly could be pushing for that first-team spot ahead of the man Mendy pretty soon. If you compare the two of them, there's not a whole lot in between them. And Livakovic has got a wee bit more of a young spring in his step than Mendy. Mendy is, of course, 29 years of age, a very good goalkeeper. But when we're thinking about the future, I think that the man on the left looks like someone that is going to be rocking up into that first-team squad very soon. So we're thinking for the future with all these signings, aren't we, boys and girls? And I think this man is going to be your starting goalkeeper when Mendy turns, like, I don't know, 32. For now, is going to be an amazing substitute goalkeeper for you. Rotation option, and now our team is looking something like this. If we go to quick pick without restrictions and pick our best 11, it is looking a little something like this. So the only player that actually makes it in there is Dybala. I think that's absolutely fair, as we've brought in Lacroix as one of our centre-back options. Definitely not our favourite centre-back. Well, could be a favourite centre-back, but he's probably not going to be everyone's starting centre-back, and Livakovic is just sitting on the bench while Mendy gets a wee bit older, but of course could be pushing for the first team spots. But I think the best thing about this Chelsea squad is there's not a whole lot that needs to be improved. Yes, you could argue Jorginho is getting a wee bit older, but still a very good player in this year's Football Manager. Kovacic can do a job in that role as well if you really need him to, or you could even bring the man, the myth, the legend, Mason Mount back down into central defensive midfield, put Havertz on that right hand side. You've got so many options that you could do with this team. I think that's what makes it one of the best teams to use in Football Manager this year. I think I have improved the team significantly, as well as bringing in an extra £17 million for you boys and girls to spend. You could bring in another player if you want, a central midfielder, maybe a striker, I don't know, whatever you feel like. But I think I've done a good job. My work is done. And that is where we're ending today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching it. If you have enjoyed it, smash the like button, like this video. Oh no, I just said that. Subscribe to the Rex FM YouTube channel if you want to see more daily-ish Football Manager content. No, it's daily. It's daily at the moment. It gets daily-ish a wee bit later. But for now, it is daily. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. I'll see you all later.